What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. It's team selection time ahead of Game Week 21 today. So as always, going to take you through how I did in Game Week 20, then look ahead to Game Week 21. And I'm glad I waited to do this video this week because obviously the injury news last night in the Spurs-Liverpool game has changed my thinking quite a bit. I'm considering taking a hit. Captaincy is kind of all over the place, so there's lots to talk about in this one. Please do give it a like if you enjoy it. Hit subscribe if you're new around here, and let's talk about OneFootball. So big shout out once again to OneFootball for sponsoring the team selection series. Love having them on board, and if you haven't already checked it out, completely free app. There's a link in the description below. Just click that. It'll take you straight through to the Android or iOS store, whichever device you're on. You can download it and give it a go. All your lineup news, your injury news, your team news, everything you could want, from stats thrown in, league tables, not just for the Premier League, by the way. If you're someone that likes football outside of the Premier League, there's also info for that as well. Goal alerts on the weekend, everything you might want, and it supports Let's Talk FPL. So if you do want to download it, it's completely free. You might as well give it a go. Link in the description, see what you think. So besides the captain fail for Bruno Fernandes against Sheffield United, which by the way was an awful game, Game Week 20 was really good. 72 points. 989 overall rank. So last week I said that 3,116 is my highest ever. Obviously, anything now above that is also going to be my highest ever as long as it continues to go down. Obviously, green arrow's up, but rank goes down. So triple figures is something I've never seen before. Obviously, again, there's still so much of the season left to go. It's going to be a struggle to stay there, but I've got a really good platform to have a really decent finish, and another top 5k, even a top 1k or something like that would be brilliant. So 1,341 points altogether. And obviously the Game Week 18 wildcard continues to do pretty well for me. A lot of it was focused around getting on Man City players because I had none in my team at the time. And obviously Cancelo with 17 points, absolutely ridiculous. I will say, as much as we've been saying the haul is coming, he was a little bit lucky to get that many points. I think the goal in particular, the way it happened with the linesman putting the flag up so early, and the players kind of carried on playing, but also kind of switched off too. And then Cancelo, like if the flag was down, would he have hit that from the distance he did with his left foot? I'm not sure, but I'm also not going to complain. 17 points decent. Stones again. Saka as well with 13 points against Southampton. I thought Arsenal would do better in the league than they did in the FA Cup against Southampton. Wasn't quite expecting double-digit hauls. So pretty happy overall. Obviously, the biggest issue was benching Souček. I got to be honest, I was fuming after that first match because you can say all you want about the fact it was a mistake to bench Souček, right? Which obviously it literally was. But to get 2 goals in one game is probably not something he'll do for the rest of the season. Maybe I'll be wrong on that. But I feel a little bit unlucky to be punished so heavily by Souček. And to be honest, the reason I went for Chris Wood was because they both looked awful in the double game weeks. Or in the 2 games over the double game week. Like, Souček just didn't feel like he was getting forward at all. Maybe I should have taken into account more that it was Crystal Palace, but they played West Brom in the double game week, who were awful as well. So I don't think it was an awful decision. The reason I played Chris Wood is because his underlying numbers are better. His expected goals are better. And it didn't work out this week, but Chris Wood still came away with a goal against Villa, which was one of the highlights of the week, to be honest. Transferring was Gundogan for De Bruyne, which was decent as well. Gundogan looking good. 2 goals from 2 shots. Again, maybe a little bit fortunate to get 14 points, but not going to complain. How Antonio didn't get more than 5 points, though, I don't know. So many good chances to score. Another day he gets plenty of goals, so we'll talk about him a little bit more in a minute. The biggest frustration was probably Man United, to be honest. Awful game. Not only did Fernandes captain blank, but Wan-Bissaka and De Gea only got 1 point each against Sheffield United. Like, it was just pathetic. The whole performance was just awful. So not happy about that. What I will say is if De Bruyne was fit, I would have captained him over Fernandes almost definitely. So I do feel like I've kind of missed out on a few points there by not going to Man City, but that's also a little bit of hindsight because once De Bruyne was injured, I was always captaining Fernandes. So 72 points up to triple figures and overall rank 989. Really happy about that. Let's see how we can make it even better. So going into Game Week 21, just the one free transfer, 8.8 million in the bank, which is just ridiculous. And I'll just touch on this again. I've spoken this on a few videos, and I was speaking to one of the Patreons in Slack this morning. Don't worry about that, right? There's obviously a tendency to spend it, right? We start looking at players we weren't considering before. For example, I've looked at Mane this morning because not only did he just do great yesterday, but I can afford him, right? Because I've got so much money in the bank. But that's not really how to play the game, I would say. If you have to have a lot of money in the bank for a few more weeks, it doesn't matter. It gives you a lot of flexibility to the point where if you suddenly need a player or you suddenly get a big injury to maybe a cheap player and you suddenly want a more expensive one, the money is there. So I'm not too concerned about having that much money in the bank. It's a weird situation, but this is a weird year, just like last year was weird as well. So don't panic about that too much. In defence, I've obviously got double City defence, which is going to stay for a while. I think ultimately with the 1 free transfer, I am looking to roll at some point. I've spoken about that before, to get 2 free transfers, because I think flexibility is going to be key in a certain game week. So game week 24 could be a double. I spoke about that on the preview yesterday, if you want to check that out. Game week 26 will almost certainly be a double game week, and I don't want to put myself into a position where I have to free hit. I want the option to free hit, but if my team's in a good position, I can get to there with kind of 2 or 3 transfers in one game week because I've rolled a transfer, then that would probably be the better scenario than a free hit in game week 29 or even the last game week of the season. I don't know yet, right? But I've got that chip in hand. But yeah, Cancelo and Stones. The good thing about Man City is after Sheffield United, they have Burnley, and then the fixtures get pretty tough. And so usually I'd be thinking, maybe I'd jump off the double defence. But one, the defence is awesome, and so even in those tougher fixtures, there's a good chance for a clean sheet. But also, if they are going to get double game weeks in 24, 26 and 27, it kind of negates the fact that they've got one bad fixture, because they'll probably have another one which is better. And even if it's not, that's 2 chances at a clean sheet. So I don't see Cancelo and Stones going anywhere unless I start to see some rotation, because obviously Laporte's back. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think Stones is first choice, and I think Laporte is going to probably take minutes here and there and maybe start in cup games and stuff like that, and give him a rest at some points. But I think Stones is first choice. So Cancelo and Stones going absolutely nowhere. I don't want to start talking about season keepers. I hate that word, because there's always something that makes you sell players. I've sold Kane twice, Son twice. I've sold Calvert-Lewin this year. There's always players to be sold and better players to be had. But right now, it's hard to look past double City defence, and as long as they keep starting, I think I'll be on them for a long time, because Liverpool defenders I still think are good. I've kind of said that all the way through. Obviously not just a knee-jerk to Trent doing well last night, but they're more expensive, so I don't want to go for them when I can have Cancelo and Stones. Martinez is in goal, mostly because I don't necessarily think that Southampton fixture is great, although I do think they have been scoring less goals recently and looking less of a threat in front of goal. So I don't think it's the worst fixture to play Martinez, but my other goalkeeper is De Gea, and I don't want to do double Man United defence against Arsenal. Arguably, this is probably going to be a clean sheet more so than Sheffield United was, just because I expect this game to be tight, but I don't want to risk it, and I think Martinez definitely in goal. Wan-Bissaka is one of the players I'm not particularly happy with, because defensively, I don't think the fixtures over the next kind of 2 or 3 are that great. I think they got West Brom and Newcastle in game weeks 24 and 25, which wouldn't be bad to play him in, and De Gea as well. Maybe even a double up, right, at the time, depending on what my other defenders are doing. But he offers nothing going forward. Like, he might get the odd assist here or there, but his underlying numbers are just awful. You don't even need to see the numbers. You can see it when he plays. Very robotic in his movements. You know what he's going to do every time. He rarely tries to beat a man. Barely puts any crosses in. So therefore, he's kind of offering nothing for like 5.3, 5.4 million. So I do want to change him, but I've got another transfer in mind this week, and I don't think he's worth a hit. I know a lot of people are looking at Luka Dean, for example, now. Newcastle and Leeds, good fixtures, potential for a game week 24 double as well. So I can see the appeal, but I don't know if it's worth a hit. And one of my strategies this year has not been to change my defenders around. And I might show you at the end of the video that a lot of the weeks I've got a defender that can cover, and if I'm going to play double City defence anyway, it's only one other defender that I need to worry about, and Wan-Bissaka, Holden and Sofao can probably get me through for the next few weeks. So at some point, if I've got a spare transfer, I might move him on. Reece James is someone I want to look at, or maybe even Chilwell. I probably want to see a bit more from Chelsea to see who's going to start and what formations they're playing. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka, not happy with, but I think when Sofao's got Liverpool and Holden's got Man United, I'm probably going to play Wan-Bissaka, but I could play Holden instead if I think it's going to be super tight. Either way, happy with that defence. Let's look at the midfield. So I've got the disappointing big hitters, Fernandes and Salah, probably must-sells, and I've got the absolutely brilliant cheapies in Gundogan and Saka. I should probably just put Souček and Rafinha in there and be done with it. But in all seriousness, I think the midfield is looking about as good as it's going to be, given the other options that I don't have. Like, so Son, for example, I'll talk about in a minute, and also like Mane, etc., Sterling, but I just don't think they're players that I'm going to put in. I don't think that I really want to get rid of Salah or Fernandes. Obviously, Salah's my captain right now, which I'll talk about in a second. So where do we start? Okay, let's start with Gundogan, because that's a quick and easy one, right? I was quite impressed with the way he played in the last game against West Brom. He was very central, getting forward again. We were, or I saw some worries about, De Bruyne being out. Would Gundogan still get forward? Would he come deeper? Obviously, the fixtures have helped, right? He doesn't need to play deep against West Brom. He's not going to need to play deep against Sheffield United, and he probably isn't going to need to play deep against Burnley either. But he is consistently getting into the box still, which is good. I said just a minute ago when I was talking about the review for Gameweek 20 that obviously he only had 2 shots and scored 2 goals. So chances of him doing that again are pretty low, but he still looks like a great buy, right? And with De Bruyne out and kind of wanting to bank the money for a rainy day or for Kane or Son or whoever it might have been, I'm really happy with him. So he definitely stays. I think Fernandes is a little bit of a concern. I don't think he's scored for the last 4 weeks or so. I think he's only scored like 2 goals that aren't penalties in the last kind of 9 or so weeks. But that's to be expected, right? I do think there's something in the fact that Pogba's playing, so he's not as needed to Man United's attack, but he's still getting into the box. He's still having shots in the box. His overall expected goal involvement is decent. I wouldn't just write off that Sheffield United game and say, well, Fernandes is done. And I think actually this is why it's important to look ahead, right? Because I've already looked ahead, like in the last couple of weeks, to know that Man United have West Brom and Newcastle coming up, right, in Game Week 24 or 25. Now, that's a few weeks away. There's nothing to say you can't sell a player then buy them back. But also, there have to be a good reason to do that. So I'm already eyeing up those fixtures. I've already looked at Game Week 24, and I know that Man United against West Brom is probably the best fixture in that game week. And therefore, I'll probably want to captain Fernandes. So there's no need to write him off just yet. And I feel like one of the things to do is prioritise your transfers, kind of take out your weakest point. Or where you can gain the most. So it's not necessarily taking out your weakest point, I guess. It's also getting in the player that will get you the most points. And taking out Fernandes when you've got 8.8 million in the bank and there's better players to take out of my team is probably not needed at all. So Fernandes definitely stays. I think with Salah, he's currently my captain. Now, I don't think there's a standout captain this week. Arguably, it should probably be on a Man City player again. And when I do the captaincy video later, I'm going to look into the stats a bit more because I did that last week and I said how much worse West Brom were than Sheffield United and still didn't go for a Man City captaincy. So I get that Sheffield United is probably one of the better fixtures this week, but given how well they did against United, right, we know they can defend really well organised, okay? We've seen that the whole of last season. They only conceded 1 to Man City in the reverse fixture. Now, I do think Man City are playing much better now than they were at that time, but Sheffield United are also looking a little bit better as well. So I'm not sure about captaining Gundogan. Arguably, should be going for a Man City defender. I kind of didn't touch on that enough last week with captaincy, but the clean sheet pretty much looks locked in already, right? How is Sheffield United going to score against Man City? So that's 6 points straight away, plus attacking potential for Cancelo. So he could be a captaincy option. But right now it's on Salah. Now, lots of people have lost faith with Salah. I said last week on videos, and I even said yesterday as well on the preview video before Liverpool played, that I wasn't too worried I wouldn't be selling Salah. And absolutely there's no way that's going to happen. And as I said, if Liverpool continue to create chances, they will score goals. The fact that they haven't scored for like 4 weeks was just ridiculously one of those freakish events. They had over 2 expected goals last night. They scored 3. That's the Liverpool we know. And I expect that to continue going forward. The problem is West Ham are not bad defensively at all. But in my team, I don't really see another standout captaincy option. If in doubt, fall back to Mo Salah. Yes, he did score last night. It was called back for handball, but it was a pretty nice finish. He was in good space. I do think he's playing, at times it feels like he's playing a little bit deeper and creating chances instead of trying to get into the box. But I've had a look at his numbers for expected goal involvement, shots in the box. They're not maybe as good as we expect from him, but they're still not bad at all. So currently he's on as my captain, but that could change to Gundogan. It could change to my transfer in this week as well. So it's a bit of a tough one. I'm not sure about Mo Salah right now, but also I might just captain him because in a week where people are starting to get frustrated with him and look elsewhere, wouldn't it just be Mo Salah to just come and get a double-digit haul out of nowhere, and then people are like, oh yeah, we should just captain Mo Salah all the time again. So this whole out of form thing, like when he's had such a good season, he's gonna go through periods of not doing that well. But West Ham away is not the worst fixture. I get it that they're quite good defensively, but he is also a super good player, right? And Liverpool are a really good team. They're going to create chances for him, and so hopefully he can get back to business. With Saka, he's been great, right? He's only blanked once in the last 6. He's been brilliant for me since I got him on a wild card. He's looking good. Arsenal are looking better. But I'm thinking of selling him because the fixtures are not great, right? Man United at home, again, I know they've just conceded 2 to Sheffield United, but for whatever reason, that seems to be a thing that Man United do. I think it'll be tight against Arsenal. And I don't see Arsenal scoring too many goals, right? And so therefore, I don't see Saka getting a huge amount of points. So I am considering selling him, but he is really good value right now. Not that I need it. And the upcoming fixtures aren't awful. So they play Wolves, who haven't been great, although Wolves have started grinding out kind of clean sheets again, which is a bit worrying. He also plays Villa, and they're not a great team to play against. It's just Leeds in Gameweek 24, but I don't really want to wait. The thing is, I think I've got a bigger priority transfer, so it will be for a hit. And do I get Son in without Kane? That's the thing now. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. So I'm going to bring up my forwards to show you what my transfer is, and then we'll talk about Kane and Son. So forward-wise, I've got Antonio, Bamford, Chris Wood. I think Chris Wood is probably my priority transfer out, although I won't lie, I've looked at the fixtures ahead for the next 5, and after Chelsea, he's got a difficult fixture, but then he's got 3 quite easy ones, including West Brom. So there is a small part of me that's thought about keeping him, but I'd probably sell him this week. Now, looking at that team, the 3 players that I think could be moved on are Wan-Bissaka, Saka, and Wood. I do think there's a kind of discussion to be had around Bamford, but I'm not ready to let go of him yet. I mean, he's got Crystal Palace at home soon. I guess I'm betting on Leeds getting back to creating plenty of chances. They haven't looked great the last couple of games, but that doesn't mean we should just write them off. And I don't think Bamford out is where my transfer priority should be this week. Again, I said it on the preview yesterday. If people are looking to get rid of him, fair enough. I probably wouldn't argue massively, but his underlying numbers have been decent all season. He's on penalties as well, so I don't see a huge reason to get rid of him. So Chris Wood is the one I'm getting rid of. Now, I was all set to get Harry Kane, right? That was going to be my transfer in. But then he comes off last night with an injury. So if anyone didn't watch the game, he kind of went over on one ankle and then did something to the other ankle as well. Then at halftime, he got subbed off. Now, at the end of the game, loads of quotes come out from different Twitter sources, journalists and stuff, saying that he was going to be out for a few weeks. But I've had a look on Fantasy Football Scout, who are usually pretty accurate in actually listening to what the manager says and going for the quotes. So this is what they said. So understanding is Mourinho told radio journalists that Kane is likely, not is. So he didn't say he is out. He said it's likely out for a few weeks, right? So just likely. And the thing is, obviously there's been no scans or anything like that. They've probably not had a good chance to look at him. So he could be out. And I don't think this is Mourinho mind games, by the way, because I know that happened with Son earlier in the season, but you got to stop reading into that. People are still like kind of bitter about that. So I'm just reading it on my phone, by the way, so I get the full quote. But in both interviews, he admitted he didn't know. So he doesn't know how long he's going to be out for. He could be likely out for a few weeks, but doesn't know. The problem is he had pain in both ankles. So I guess it's not so easy to run off that when you've got, it's both ankles that are done in. So it's difficult for me now to bring in Kane. And also I've said all along that I don't necessarily think that Brighton away and Chelsea at home are great fixtures anyway. So if there's any doubt that he is not going to be fit to play, then I probably won't bring him in. And the other thing is I don't think Mourinho has a press conference today. So the chances of getting any concrete news is probably thrown out the window. So I don't think I can go for Kane. I just think it's too risky. Game week 23 against West Brom is when I want a Spurs player. So this week I'm not going to go for Kane. So I think my transfer out, it still has to be Wood, but I'm probably going to go for Calvert-Lewin. Now, Ollie Watkins is another player I really like, and I'd happily have Ollie Watkins probably instead of Calvert-Lewin. But I think fixtures-wise, Calvert-Lewin just about edges it, especially for the next 2. So Newcastle at home, Newcastle have been awful. Leeds away, Leeds always concede chances. And also, if you watched the preview video yesterday, I've mentioned that quite a lot, by the way. If you've not watched it, you should go and watch it. I did mention there's an outside shot at Everton getting a double game week in 24. Now, I will say that is not guaranteed by any stretch, right? There's no way we can sit here and say it's definitely going to play twice. But I think for a player that I quite like the look of anyway, for the next 2, who may also double in 24, and by the way, has pretty good fixtures after 26 as well, I think there's someone I'm happy to get in. So my transfer this week would almost certainly be Chris Wood to Calvert-Lewin. Yes, Antonio's not got a greatest fixture, neither's Bamford, and obviously he's not been looking great the last few, but they're players I probably want to keep for the long term. So Wood to Calvert-Lewin. And then it's, do I take a hit? Do I take Wan-Bissaka out for a hit? Probably not. Do I take Saka out for Son? How is Son going to play without Kane? Because it's all well and good saying that Son has been great without Kane in the past, but this Spurs team is different now. Everything goes through Kane. He is so creative. If he's not in the team, yes, on Ndombele or someone like that can come and be the creative force, but Harry Kane has just been that good. We might see a drop-off. And also, I don't feel like Son is like a standout captain this week either without Kane against Brighton. And then it's Chelsea at home, so I don't feel like he's a must-own there either. So it's just, do I think he is worth 4 points more than Saka? Because obviously it would cost me a -4 to do it. So I'm probably just going to not take the hit and continue to play a bit more conservative. So Wood to Calvert-Lewin. But I also, the reason I'm not going to take Wan-Bissaka out for a hit probably, I'll show you now on the transfer planner. So I just want to quickly show you this transfer planner. So you can get this on livefpl.net. It's a completely free site. You have to sign up to use the transfer planner, but outside of that, there's no cost to use this. It's quite handy, to be honest. So this is why I'm probably not going to get rid of Wan-Bissaka. And I've said a few times this season, you can't have the perfect team every week. Obviously, it's all about managing a side. Is it worth taking the hit, right? So this is my team as it stands ahead of Game Week 21. But as I've just said, we're probably going to do Chris Wood to Calvert-Lewin. So I take out Chris Wood, I choose Calvert-Lewin, and then I just save the team, right? So that should be, yeah, that's saved now. So Calvert-Lewin's in. He's now in my team, as if I'd made the transfer for real on the FPL page. This is what my team looks like for Game Week 21. Now, obviously, it's giving you green and pink fixtures depending on difficulty. You can decide whether you want to follow that. But for the purpose of this, I'm just going to play certain players. So De Gea out for Martinez in, and I'll just save that because that's who I'm playing this week. But for future game weeks, it doesn't really matter. But if you go forward, right, so Game Week 22, it'll now load up the team that you should be probably playing for that week. And straight away, so we've still got Stones and Cancelo, obviously, but Wan-Bissaka's got Southampton at home, Holding's got Wolves away, and so far's got Aston Villa away. That seems okay to me. To play one of those three next week. Yes, there's potentially better options, but again, I'm talking about whether or not I take a hit in Game Week 21. Then I go forward to Game Week 23, for example. That brings up the team. So Wan-Bissaka has got Everton at home. Probably don't want to play him there, especially when I got Calvert-Lewin. So instead I play Sofao against Fulham away. Now, yes, Liverpool are playing Man City in that game week. It's not probably ideal to have two Man City defenders, but maybe I play Holden instead of one of those like Stones against Aston Villa and just play Cancelo instead or something like that. And then again, moving on, Game Week 24. City have Spurs, probably not so bothered about playing them in that game. And Wan-Bissaka has West Brom away. Sofao has Sheffield United at home. So I could just play him instead of one of the Man City boys again. So ultimately, my defence, by looking at that, is not perfect, right? I'm not saying it is, but it's not bad and I can probably get through. So do I need to take a hit in Game Week 21 to not play Wan-Bissaka? Probably not, right? It's probably worth just playing him, hoping it's a tight game, hoping he gets a clean sheet. And if he does, obviously Saka gets no points in that scenario. And the defence is probably okay going forward. So if you haven't checked this out, it's super handy. I might use this a few more times when I'm talking about particular transfers in. But ultimately, Chris Wood to Calvert-Lewin. Is Saka or Wan-Bissaka out worth a hit? Let me know in the comments below. So that is it for this one. If you haven't checked out OneFootball, please make sure you do. There's a handy link in the description below that'll take you straight through to download it, and it is completely free. So make sure you do that. Like I said, try it out. It's completely free. Why not? If you've enjoyed the video, give it a like and hit subscribe if you're new around here. Leave a comment below about my transfer plans. Do you think I'm missing anything? Should Wan-Bissaka, Saka be taken out for a hit? Is Calvert-Lewin the right move? Will Kane actually miss out? And what do you think about Son without Kane? Let me know in the comments below and I'll make sure to get back to a few of them as well. And lastly, if you haven't already checked out Patreon, there's a link to that in the description below as well. There's loads of perks and benefits over there, and if you want to support the channel a little bit further every month, you can do it as well. Big shout out to everyone that's already signed up, getting Slack access, WhatsApp access, depending on what tier you're signed up to. Big thanks to to everyone that's supporting the channel, and a shout out as well to Dan H and Tim N who have signed up since the last video. I will leave it there. Once again, thanks for watching. I'll be back later on this evening probably with a captaincy video and a deadline stream tomorrow around 10:15 to take us all the way through to the Game Week 21 deadline. Looking forward to that. I'll see you soon.